Hello, welcome to the final meeting of the Ulysses 6. And we are going to discuss strategies for reading Ulysses in case you want to reread it or have not read it before, because this is not an easy book to read. And you can get some advice from at least 6 semi-experts now.
Oh, I think that might be pushing it.
Well, let's say if you want to ask someone how to run a marathon, ask someone who's run a marathon.
Right.
We've run this marathon, so we can give you some advice.
And Pat's read it 3 times now, and indeed.
Pat, you want to give some advice to people who are thinking about reading Ulysses?
Sure. I would just say, going on our experience here, I would recommend reading it with people that you can talk about it with.
Yes.
I would definitely, I would not want to be reading this by myself. So I like having people to talk about it with. So that would be my first recommendation. And my second is, I'm going to do a plug for my friend Patrick Hastings. And I'm going to just suggest that this is a really clear, straightforward guidebook that I would recommend. Sometimes I would read his chapter first, and then I would read the episode. Sometimes I would read the episode, then read his chapter. Sometimes I did the episode, his chapter, the episode, then I read his chapter again. But it's clear. He was a high school teacher. He wrote this for his own, based on his work with his own students. So it's not so academic that, it's like you're reading something else that's really difficult to read on top of a book that's really difficult. It's really clear and really helpful. Those would be my 2 recommendations.
Also, you also listen to The Great Courses.
Oh, yes. Wonderful. Wonderful.
Did you do that before or after the chapter?
I would listen to him after the chapter.
I did before.
Yeah. So.
But actually, Great Courses, an excellent way to help you through the book.
Yep.
Yes.
Will?
I agree with firstly doing it with friends so you can have a discussion around it and air your grievances as you go along or air any thoughts you might have about it. For myself, I had a very bare bones student's edition, and I didn't have any supplementary information for it because I wanted to read it the way anybody when it first came out would have read it, which is just all you've got is the book to begin with. So that is what Joyce is arming you with. So that's what you've got to work with. So I didn't have any, apart from Googling a few things every now and then where I didn't know a translation for a phrase in Latin or French. Apart from that, I'd look up those things. But the rest of it, I just wanted the rawest experience of reading it, which is a double-edged sword because you don't get all the nuance, but then having the group that you're reading with can help you with those moments as well.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so my opinion is slightly different in that I would pitch going first in, just going headlong into it with naked into the into the wind.
Debs?
I'm with you and Pat. I found the supplementary resources really useful. Patrick Hastings' book I also read, and concur with Pat. It was extremely clear and very accessible. I also alternated between reading it before I'd read the chapter and reading it afterwards, and it all depended on the chapter. If I read the first few lines of the chapter and thought, ooh, I'm going to need help with this one, I read Hastings first. If I was getting on okay, I read it afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
This group has been invaluable, and I am sorry for anyone who has to read Ulysses without the benefit of the Ulysses 6, because I don't think it would be possible. And the other thing I think is to expect the unexpected. There were several things that surprised me about this book that I really wasn't expecting. One was the smuttiness of it, and the variety of styles he uses throughout it. I don't think I was expecting that either. So yeah, that's it.
Roy?
Well, I'd say, yeah, I'd kind of agree with everything people have said. I'd say go at it with the most open mind you can have. Don't even expect it to be a novel. Things, don't expect much in the way of plot or resolution or the kind of kind of satisfaction you'd get out of a
Lost
out of a
someone.
novel
Will.
usually. So yeah, just let it be what it is and see what comes out of it. I'd agree about having some sort of book on the side as well, because personally I just like sometimes to know roughly where I'm standing here. Roughly what sort of game is Joyce playing in this section, and that can be really helpful just as a way into it, or to maybe kind of solve a few mysteries. So agree about Hastings, and I'll throw another one into the mix, which is a very short introduction to James Joyce.
Oh, is that those Oxford University Press ones?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's a tiny book, and it's about all of Joyce, not just Ulysses. But despite that, you get just a paragraph on each of the chapters of Ulysses. Again, it gives you that way in, and it's only a tiny add-on. That's what I'd say.
Okay, I agree with everything. The one thing I might have changed is we did this as a 2-month group. I'm thinking maybe a 3-month group would be a little bit better, because you can take a little more time to read through it. I also did not read a lot of secondary sources going through it. I was sort of like Will. I said, I just want to read this as a book to see how well it turns out as a book. And I don't think that was the wisest choice for me. I think it would have helped if I had more time to read a chapter and get a little more detail about what's going on in the background. It might have helped my enjoyment of the book. So that's how I would do it.
Well, it helps to have like an encyclopedic knowledge of Dublin and the city. No, I like the great courses. I listened to that again. What's his name? Heffernan, Professor Heffernan.
He was great.
Was good. I haven't. I don't have the Patrick Hastings, but I'm going to buy it for next time. I enjoyed reading the essays in this new book. Now you have this, don't you, Roy?
Yeah, good.
Okay. Yeah, next time you read it, you'll get a chance to. I believe books should be written. Now, I didn't write inside of this, but it's like the thing is kind of torn now, and it's. I think I have a coffee mark where I dropped it, so it's not. Oh God, you messed up my. Once you buy a book, it's like a car like this. It's $50, but you can't resell it the day after for $25. So but there's a lot that I wasn't really joking about. There's maps and that in this and in this book, but there's also thin books about like the walking tour of Ulysses, and there's videos on YouTube of it too. Now I don't have the Richard Ellman biography of Joyce, but I've read it. I should have it. I've read it a couple times, but it's helpful to have a biography of Joyce. This is just a graphic novel biography. But so I mean, this is the Gifford is good for like deciphering if you want to find what's that Latin mean, what's the Greek mean, or things like that. There's many ways to come at it. There's Ulysses is and Joyce is the most studied subject and writer next to Shakespeare, and it's been going on for a long time. Like James Joyce Center in Dublin. I envy Pat. She's going to Dublin for a visit. You'll be in the heart of it. You'll be able to see 7 Eccles Street, the actual door of the Blooms, etc. And Davy Burns. You can have lunch there, and it's great. Okay, now you've read it to go directly to Dublin.
As I said, I still think for anyone who considers themselves a serious reader, sometime in your life, tackle it.
Mm.
Just to say, I've read this book, just like you say, I've run that marathon. I have done it, and I can safely say to everyone, I have read Ulysses.
Yeah.
It's a feather in your cap.
Yeah.
Yes.
The only other thing that I would say is if you are going to read it, make sure you get an edition that has the line numbers on it.
Oh yeah,
Mine didn't
Yes.
have episode titles, it didn't have line numbers, and
Oh,
I
no.
found that quite difficult.
I would imagine, yeah.
Yeah. So
Just
I
because
would
that means you can use other guidebooks, because
exactly.
that's how they tie
Exactly.
in.
Yeah. And
Um,
mine didn't tie in with anything. I don't think Will's did either.
No, mine had line numbers. I just didn't have.
Oh, did it?
I had line numbers and episode numbers, but I didn't have the episode titles like some of you did with the parallel titles to Ulysses itself.
Yeah, I didn't have anything between the episodes other than 3 asterisks. That's how I
Right.
knew that
You're
another episode was starting.
Oh,
So I would have preferred one that had episode numbers. I would have actually preferred the episode titles, but I definitely would have liked the line numbers.
well, the episode titles aren't, Joyce didn't, they don't appear in,
they don't appear in mine either.
Do they
No.
not?
no.
They don't appear in mine.
Okay.
Okay.
They're in the in the Gabbler. They're in the there's a table of contents, I think.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
But you're right; they're not on each page. I
They're
mean,
just
when each
numbered.
episode begins, but they
Yeah.
are in the beginning of the book. There's a table of contents.
Yes.
So he told his intellectual buddies in letters and stuff about these chapter titles, but he didn't put them in the book.
Right. You
Right.
did on
To
schema.
annoy you, really, Debs.
Probably.
Right.
Okay, I think that's very succinct. And again, I hope people try it.
Yeah, go for
Yes.
it.
You know,
Yes, it's like
start a
I
group.
think
and go.
enjoyed the experience.
Indeed.
Absolutely.
It has jokes, by the way.
Yeah.
Your local, whatever city you live in, there's bound to be an Irish pub that might have a group on Ulysses, in-person group.
Could be.
Check
All
it
right,
out.
everyone. Thanks for
Thanks.
tuning in.
Thank you.
I feel sorry that Ulysses 6 is going to have to ride off into the sunset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll be back
All
as
right.
the Finnegan's 5.
I might pass on Finnegan's Wake. All right, everyone.
Okay.
Good night.
Bye.
Watch it.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.